Okay, and some people have their cameras on today. Excellent. That's great. Okay, so that's really nice to see. Um, some of my colleagues force people to turn their cameras on. And I don't want to do that because, I kind of feel like, if you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to. I don't know if that's like a privacy issue also. So um, if you can turn your camera on, that's great. And thank you for doing that. Uh, okay, so for chapter 8, we'll review a little bit what we talked about last time. And then we want to finish up the problem that we started with the cash budget. So last time we did a cash budget problem and I showed you the matrix approach. So we'll finish up that problem today. And then we also have another handout with an in-class problem, which is similar to the homework problem. And that problem looks like so. Okay, it looks like this. Okay, so we'll work on this as well today. Okay, so we'll jump right into everything. All right, so last time we talked about budgeting. Okay, so budgeting actually is very good if you do it properly. So Robert Simons of the Harvard Business School said that dynamic and innovative companies actually do more budgeting. Okay, so a lot of people think the opposite is true. A lot of people think, well, the more budgeting you do, probably the bigger you are as an organization and the stodgier you are. So people have really a bad connotation. They think budgeting means like you're not innovative, you're like a big company that, maybe is part of the government and, you're not very dynamic. But actually the opposite is true. The more budgeting you do, actually the more dynamic and innovative you can be. Because if you use budgeting properly, budgeting can be used for two purposes, planning and control purposes. Can somebody explain what planning and control means? Those are two ways that we can use budgeting. Does anybody want to maybe take a shot at explaining that? Or you can type it in the chat if you'd like. Okay. I think of planning like having a party. Maybe somebody can explain what that means. I think of control like a diet. So how can budgeting be like having a party or going on a diet? Those two things seem like they're opposite of one another. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Okay, what about Lily? What do you think? What does it mean to do budgeting for planning and control?
I would say the difference between planning and control would be that planning kind of entails like you don't want to run out of your money, so you're splitting it up in specific sections, whereas control has to do with cost cutting and saving, kind of allocating your funds towards specific areas, I would say.
Very good. Excellent. So planning is where you use budgeting to make sure you don't run out of something, right? So, I mentioned last week or last time we had class that when you throw a party, you don't want to run out of food, right? So you actually buy more food than you need. You have more drinks than you need. So here, scenario A, that's an emphasis on budgeting for planning purposes, okay? Because you have a very generous budget. In this example, you have $100 that you're allowed to spend. So that's probably more than enough. So you actually end up spending $90 because the budget is so generous. But you used budgeting for planning purposes in the sense that you wanted to make sure that there was enough, that you don't run out. The opposite is control. That's scenario B here. So under control, you're trying to get people to economize, to be efficient, to spend as little money as possible. So in this example, you have a budget for $80, which is really a tight budget, right? Even though you actually went over budget by spending $88, the purpose of scenario B was to encourage people to try and spend as little money as possible, right? So of course, $88 is less than $90. So in scenario B, we have budgeting for control purposes. Okay, I have an example for you. Okay, so I remember one year my friend invited me over for Easter dinner. So I said, "Oh, okay, this sounds good. I like to eat." And he was in between jobs. He has 2 kids. He doesn't have a lot of money. So I remember I showed up and there were like 3 chicken wings, and then that was it. So I felt really bad eating because I said, oh my gosh, there's only like 3 chicken wings and there's like 5 people here. So I didn't know what to do. So I didn't eat anything. And then they were like, oh, Brian, you're not going to eat. And I was like, no, I'm full. I'm good. I don't need to eat anything. Right. So that was clearly budgeting for control purposes, right? Trying to economize and not use too much. Okay, good. So a budget means a couple things in managerial accounting. So the things that you need to know are that a budget has to be written down. Okay, so if you have a budget in your head, it's not considered to be a real budget. Budgets have to be in financial terms, right? So you can't have a budget where you say spend less money. You have to quantify your budget and have it written down so that you have specific targets that you're going to meet. So for example, if my budget is to spend $100 in groceries next week, then I know that if it's Wednesday and I've spent like $90, then I'm already almost at my budget maximum, right? So for budgets, it has to be written, it has to be in financial terms, and it can be for any period of time, but usually it doesn't exceed 1 year, because if you have a budget for more than 1 year, then you have to make too many estimates and it tends not to be very accurate. Now, the exception to that is that sometimes budgets are created for a 5-year period, right? Because maybe like you have a long-term project. So that tends to be the exception rather than the rule. And there's also other ways to implement budgets. Some budgets are what we call rolling in nature. That means that you make a budget and then you constantly update it throughout the year, right? Other budgets are zero budgets, where you start at zero, and then depending on what your needs are, we can allocate money. Okay, so there's different approaches to budgeting, but for our purposes, what you need to know is that you can think of a budget in terms of thinking about the future. So here we know that in accounting, when you worry about the past, right? In the past, you can figure out how well you did, right? By looking at a past income statement or a past balance sheet, right? There's also other financial statements, but those are the 2 main ones. If you can create a past income statement and a past balance sheet, then why can't you do a future income statement and a future balance sheet, right? So these 2 types of budgets are what we call a master budget. In other words, all the budgets that you have together make up what we call the master budget. And master budgets are made up of operating budgets and financial budgets. So an operating budget is anything that you would see on a future income statement, right? Like a sales revenue budget, salaries expense budget, all of those things are operating budgets. Financial budgets are anything that would appear like on a balance sheet, a future balance sheet, right? Like, for example, a land budget. Isn't land on the balance sheet? That would be a financial budget. What about building budget? Building is something that appears on a balance sheet. That would be a financial budget as well. Okay, good. All right, so the last thing is that budgets have to be fair and achievable. Right? So when you create a budget that's fair and achievable, you're going to motivate people and you're going to create something called goal congruence, right? So goal congruence is a managerial accounting concept. Goal congruence means that if you create a budget that everybody agrees to, then everybody's going to try to do things that are going to accomplish the goal of the organization, right? My first job was at a shoe store. So I sold shoes to old women. Okay, I worked at Easy Spirit Shoes. That was my first job. I worked at the mall. And when I worked at the mall, I always had a budget. I had to sell like, $300 worth of shoes every time I worked a, 4-hour shift, for example, right? So then I could actually see like how well I was performing, because I could compare how much I actually sold to what the budgeted sales were. Okay, good. I have a story for you. When I worked as a shoe salesman, I had somebody that came in and she wanted to try on like 5 pairs of shoes. And then the person was like, I don't know which pair of shoes to buy because they all look nice. And I knew that I had a budget that I had to achieve for sales. And I said, why don't you just buy all 5 pairs of shoes, because you can always return them if you don't like them. And the person was like, oh, that's such a great idea. That's genius. I'll go ahead and do that. Right. And then I was able to exceed my budget. I made more sales than I was budgeted to make. And that was good. Right. Okay. So budgeting actually motivates people. Does anybody have any examples of budgets they use to help motivate them and help them accomplish a goal? In the department, we did we had a like a step challenge, like how many steps everybody like walks in a day, right? And then everybody's budget was like 10,000. Don't they say like 10,000 steps is good, right? So that's kind of like a budget. Anybody else use any budgeting? Do you have a vacation budget? No? Okay. Okay, so that's good then. Maybe if you don't have a budget, you can spend whatever you want. Right? Okay, so one person has a budget for studying 1 hour a day. Okay, that's good. 1 hour of studying a day. Okay, excellent. Okay. Somebody wrote in the chat that they are the treasurer of an organization. So the organization has a budget. Lily, I have a question. What's a budget that an organization might have if you have like a party?
Are you asking for like a specific amount of money?
Yeah, how do you figure out what the budget is? Do you like do it by the number of people, or do you do it as like a fixed thing where you say, we'll just spend $500 for a party? How does party planning work and budgeting?
Yeah, I think it depends, like on the event, but a lot of times it has to do with the amount of people that are coming and like the amount of supplies that are needed per party.
Mhm. Okay, so you look at all these different factors and then you can develop a budget that way. Okay, excellent. All right, I think I mentioned last class, I'm not sure if I did, but I think I might have mentioned that I had a student who graduated from AU and she became a budget manager. Okay, so she does budgeting as a job now. So she came back and said, oh, professor, I just wanted to let you know how I'm doing. I'm a budget manager now. So I do this kind of stuff for my full-time job. So that was nice to see that she was doing that and that she enjoys her job. Speaking of budgeting, we didn't finish this problem with green landscaping. So let's finish this problem up and then we'll do a homework question together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this over on a new sheet of paper, or new page, actually, sheet of paper. This sounds so old-fashioned. Okay, last time we created the cash collections budget, and then we figured out accounts receivable. Okay, so that was actually what we did here. Okay, this was the cash collections budget. In this budget, we think that in November, we're going to receive $48,000 in cash from our customers. In December, we're going to receive $78,000 in cash, right? So this is our budget for cash receipts. And then we also figured out at the end of March, how much money do people still owe us? How much money do we still have to collect from our customers? And it was 68,000. Does anybody have any questions on this question here? Or any questions about anything? Okay, all right, let's take a look at this next question. And here we're going to figure out cash payments. Okay? So how much cash do you expect to pay each month, right? And then we'll figure out how much the account payable is at the end of March. All right, so I guess how much we expect to pay depends on how much we expect to buy, right? So it says here, purchases of landscaping supplies, direct materials are paid 60% in the month of purchase and then 40% the following month. And then they go ahead and they give us the actual purchases for 2021 and the expected purchases for 2022. In December, we purchased $14,000 worth of stuff. January is 12,000, so on and so forth. So how much did you pay each month? How do I set this up, folks? This is a cash payments schedule. Any ideas how I would set this up? Okay, not all at one time, folks. Okay, this is a joke. Okay, anybody? Okay, good. We can write the months out. Yeah, very good. So we can put, let's see, we have December, January, February, March. Okay, so December, January, February, March. Okay, so when you have this type of problem in the homework and on the exam, you can do it this way. Put December, January, February, March. Okay, so let's see, how much stuff did I buy in December? Let's start with December. December, I bought $14,000, right? So we'll say 14,000. Okay, how much stuff did I buy in January, or do I expect to buy in January? It's 12,000. It's 15 and 18. So 12,000, 15, and 18,000. Okay, excellent. Okay, so if I buy $14,000 worth of stuff in December, how much do I pay in December? Well, let's see. It says 60% in the month of purchase, 40% the following month. So here, I would pay, well, I buy $14,000 worth of stuff times 60%, right? And then in January, the $14,000 worth of stuff that I purchased, I would pay 40%, 60 and 40. So here I have 14,000 times 60% is $8,400. That's how much cash I paid in December. And then in January, this is going to be $5,600. $5,600. And by the way, if you add these two numbers up, you get 14,000. So you purchase $14,000 worth of stuff in December. The actual cash you pay is $8,400, and then you pay $5,600. Okay, good. Okay, now comes my favorite part, XXX, right? Because if you buy something in January, how in the world did you pay for it in December? You can't, right? So XXX and then XXX, right? Because if you buy something in February, how did you pay for it in December and January? It didn't happen until February, right? And then same thing again here with March, XXX, XXX, XXX. Okay, and then that's it, right? All right. So can somebody tell me how to figure out how much cash I paid for these January purchases? We'll take 12,000 times, you guessed it, 60%, right? And then 12,000 times 40%. Okay, so this is going to be 7,200. And then here you have 4,800, 4,800. Okay, that's it. All right, we'll do this again in February. In February, I purchased $15,000 worth of stuff. Right? So how much did I pay in February on this $15,000 worth of stuff I purchased? 15,000 times 60%, and then 15,000 times 40%. Okay, so that's going to be 9,000 and 6,000. Okay, that's it. Let's do this one more time for March. In March, I purchased $18,000 worth of items. So 18,000 times 60%. Right? So that's going to be 18,000 times 60% is 10,800. Okay, and that's it. Some people can actually do this in their head. I had a student one time who said, "Oh, professor, do I need to make this chart? Can I just do it in my head?" And I said, if you can do it in your head and get the right answer, it's fine. And lo and behold, they could actually do this in their head without making any chart. So good for that person, but for most everybody else, it's better to just make this chart. Don't forget to add the columns up, because the columns are going to give us the total amount of cash you pay out each month. Okay, so December, I paid $8,400 of cash out. In January, I'm going to add all the numbers in this column. So 56 plus 72 is 12,800. Okay, and then 4,800 plus 9,000 equals 13,800. Okay, and then finally 16,800. 16,800. Okay, so this is how much cash you pay each month. And it says also, what is the March 31st, 2022 account payable? Or accounts payable. That means how much money do you still owe? December, looks like I paid everything off, right? January, it's $12,000 purchased. I paid everything off, because if you add 7,200 and 4,800, it's 12,000. February is 15,000. Looks like I paid that all off. March, I bought $18,000 worth of stuff, and I only paid 10,800. So the other amount that's not paid is still payable, right? So 18,000 minus 10,800. Okay, this is going to be the account payable. Okay, so 7,200. 7,200. And thank you, Madison, for writing that in the chat. Very nice. Okay, $7,200. Okay, excellent. Any questions on this problem? What kind of budget is this? It's somebody in the other class said master budget. Okay, that's true. Every budget is part of the master budget. Is this operating or operating budget or financial budget? It's dealing with cash, right? Cash goes on a balance sheet. So this is a financial budget. Financial budget. Okay. Very good. Okay. Well, what we're going to do in the next chapter is figure out what the actual amount is, and then we can analyze these variances, these differences. Okay, so in the next chapter, we're going to look at the differences or the variances, and then you can make a lot of determinations, or like you can figure out a lot of things about what a company is doing by looking at the variances. When you look at variances, this is called management by exception, right? In other words, if you have like 12 Chipotle franchise locations, you can't be at all 12 at the same time. So you would look at the budget, the actual, and the variances, and then you can tell if people are being efficient. You can tell if you're spending too much money, and you can get a sense of how the business is doing. So that's going to be coming up in the next chapter. Okay, any questions about anything so far? No? Okay, good. All right, then let's take a look at the homework question. All right, so let me pull that up. Okay, here we are. By the way, you can always ask me questions. Just give me like enough time to answer them. I like questions. Not everybody asks them, but what happens is that people, try to do the homework, they get stuck, and then they ask me. Like some people ask me like Sunday night at like 11 o'clock. It's kind of late because I'm old, so I sleep kind of early. So if you can like maybe ask me earlier, I can help you so that you can get the answer correct when you do the homework. Okay, so let's take a look at this question here. And here it says we have a Morganton company and they make one product and they have the following information. So these are all budgetary information that they have. And the questions start out easy enough. It says, what is the budgeted sales for July? Okay, so budgeted sales for July. Well, let's see, how much stuff do they expect to sell for July? It says budgeted unit sales for June, July, and August are, okay, here. In July, I expect to sell 26,000 units, right? And then each unit sells for $60. So how much sales revenue do you expect to have in July? This is going to be $60 times, I expect to sell 26,000 units. Okay. So then we're going to have $1,560,000 in sales revenue. This is the answer. When we're doing these questions, let's also put operating or financial budget. This is operating budget. This would be something on an operating budget because sales revenue is part of an income statement. That's part of an operating budget. Okay, good. All right. What about number 2? It says, how much do they expect to collect in cash in July? Okay, so you can make the whole matrix if you want to, right? Or let's see if we can do it a different way. How much cash do they expect to collect in July? Well, let's see. It says 40, it says all sales are on credit. Okay, so all sales are on credit. 40% of credit sales are collected in the month of the sale, and then 60% the following month. Okay, so you collect 40%, then 60%. Okay, so how much stuff do they collect in July? So I think it takes 2 months to collect all of your money, right? You collect 40%, and then the next month, 60%. It takes 2 months. So how much stuff did you sell in June, and how much stuff did you sell in July? So in June, looks like you sold, it says 9,500 units at $60. Okay, so let's say 9,500 times $60. This is how much sales revenue you have, right? This is 9,500 times $60. Okay, 9,500 times 60. And then they're asking about July, right? So I think I would collect 40% of this in June. And then in July, I would collect 60%, 60%. Okay, so 60%. Okay, so you see how I did that, everybody? How about July? July, how much stuff did you sell? I think we figured that one out earlier, right? They sold 2,600 units worth of stuff, 26,000 units worth of stuff, times everything sells for $60 per unit, right? Times how much did they collect in July? If they sold something in July, 40%, 40%. So we'll say times 40%. Okay. Okay, so we'll add up these numbers and then we'll see how much cash they collected in July. By the way, if you want to do it with the matrix, you can do that too. That also works. Okay, I just wanted to give you like a different way to figure this out in case you wanted to do it a different way. Or if you were that student, one student could figure everything out in their head, so that's also good if you can do that. Okay, 966,000. That's the answer. Okay, you know I'm going to ask this question. What budget is this? Operating or financial? Financial budget. Because cash goes on a balance sheet, financial budget. Okay, excellent. Any questions on that one? No? Okay. All right. How much money do people owe us at the end of July? Well, let's see. At the end of July, I sold, this much stuff, right? 26,000 times 60. I did collect 40% of it. I think people still owe us the other 60%, right? That sounds like that's the answer. So in July, I sold 26,000 units at $60 per unit. And then I did collect 40%. So how much is my account receivable? How much do people still owe me? 60%. Right? $936,000. Okay. I sound like a broken record, but what budget does this go on? Okay, operating budget. Good. Okay. Oh, no, that's wrong. Financial budget. Okay. Molly, did you have your hand up?
Yes, Professor, I kind of still like confused in between certain questions. I feel like I didn't understand.
Sure. Okay. Which part? 1, 2, or 3, or all of the above?
3. So then I understand what we times per price per unit, the 6, and in the third questions, and then we times 0.6. Does that mean the 60%? So why we multiple by 60%?
Okay. Okay. So that's a good question. So when you sell something, you collect 40%, and then the next month you collect 60%. So at the end of July, I sold 26,000 units at $60 per unit. So this is how much stuff I sold. I collected 40% in July, but then the 60% I'm not going to collect until next month, right? So that's why I multiply this by 60%, or 0.6.
Yes.
So this amount I did not collect in July. I will collect it the next month. That's
next
the
month. Yes.
account receivable, right? So this is to be collected next month. Yep.
Thank you, Professor.
Sure. Thank you for your question. Okay, excellent. Any other questions on this one? Okay, I have a question. Production budget. How much do you have to produce, right? I think there's a formula. Does anybody remember the formula? What is the formula for production budget? Okay, unit sales plus desired ending inventory equals units required minus beginning inventory. Okay, this is going to be how many units you have to produce. Okay, equals units to be produced. Okay, all right. I went on a tour with some students. We went to a small cookie business, and then we got a tour of the cookie operations, and I learned that the most popular cookie, according to this business located in Bethesda, Maryland, is chocolate chip cookies. The least favorite cookie, oatmeal raisin. So I didn't know that. Anybody like oatmeal raisin cookies? Madison, what do you think? Oatmeal raisin? No, not really. Okay, that's my favorite kind of cookie. I don't know. Maybe people think oatmeal and they think it's kind of gross. Okay, but how many cookies do you expect to sell? 100. Right. How many extra cookies do you want to have? Like because you're hungry, or maybe you want to like take some home. Maybe 20. Okay, I'm just making up these numbers. Okay, so then I need to come up with 120 cookies, right? 120. Oh, I already had some cookies from before. Like yesterday, I baked 10 extra cookies, and I have 10 extra right now. So let's subtract that out because you already had 10 extra cookies from before. So that means this month I only need to make 110 cookies, right? So how many cookies do you have to make? It depends on how much you're going to sell, plus how much extra you want to have, minus what you already had from before, right? So that's going to be how you figure out the answer. Okay, all right. So instead of cookies, how many units should they produce in July? Well, how many units do they expect to sell in July? I guess that's the first question. Let's see. Right here, it says budgeted sales for July is 26,000. Right here, 26,000. Okay. So 26,000. So 26,000. All right. Do they want to have some extra left over? Maybe. Let's see. It says here, it says the ending finished goods inventory equals 25% of the next month's unit sales. Okay, so they do want to have some extra. How much extra do they want to have? Give me 25% of what I'm expecting to sell next month. I want that extra left over this month. So how much do you expect to sell the next month? 28,000, right? So next month's unit sales are 28,000. And how much do I want extra left over at the end of this month? 25% of next month. So 25% of 28,000. Okay. So this number here is 28,000. That's next month's sales times 25%. Okay. So that's 7,000. Okay. So 7,000. Okay. So 7,000. Okay, then let's figure out how many units I need to have. I need to have 33,000. Okay, I just added these two numbers together. All right. How much did I have at the beginning? Well, let's see. At the beginning of July, isn't that the same as the end of June? Right. So beginning of July is the same as the end of June, right? Okay, so how many units did I want to have at the end of June? At the end of June, I wanted to have 25% of the next month, which is July, right? So how many units did I want to have at the end of June? 25% of next month's sales. So the next month's sales are 26,000 times 25%. Okay. Is this okay, everybody? Where I got this number from?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, so 6,500. 6,500. I'm going to put these in parentheses because I want to subtract the number. Okay. Okay, so how many units do I have to produce? 26,500. 26,500. And then what kind of budget is this? Production budget, but is this operating or financial? How much you produce helps you to figure out how much your expenses are going to be. Expenses go on an income statement. This is an operating budget. Operating budget. Just put operating. Okay. Okay, excellent. Any questions on that? Okay, all right, the next one is kind of similar to 4, but except now we have to do it in pounds of materials. Okay. So here, number 5, they ask us if 113,000 pounds of raw materials are needed to meet production in August, how many pounds of raw materials should be purchased in July? All right. So for this one, let's see what we can do here. So first of all, how many units are you expecting to produce in July? Okay, so units to be produced in July. Okay, That's what they're asking us. They're saying, how much material do you have to purchase in July? Like how much, like steel or flour, or I don't know what the raw materials are. I mean, first of all, it's going to depend on how many units you make or produce, right? If you produce more units, you probably need more materials. That's why I'm starting with the number of units that they expect to produce in July, which, by the way, we already figured out in number 4. That's 26,500. Okay, so never mind this 113,000. We'll worry about this in just a moment, right? How much material does this represent? I mean, I understand that I need to produce 26,500 cookies or units, but how much flour or how much material is that? It says right here, each unit of finished goods requires 4 pounds of raw materials. Okay, so, maybe I need to produce 26,500 units in July, but how much material is that? Okay, so we'll multiply this by 4. Okay, so we'll say multiply by 4, because I want to figure out how much like pounds of material that actually is. Okay, so this is units of raw materials. So that's going to be 106,000. Okay, 106,000. Okay. Do you want to have some extra raw materials? If so, we better add that in here, right? So desired raw material, ending raw materials. Okay, well, let's see. If you want to have some extra left over, how many pounds of materials is that going to be? So here we'll go up and it says the ending raw materials inventory they want to have is 15% of the next month's raw material needs. Okay, so I want to have some ending raw materials, and this is going to be 15% of the materials I'm going to use the next month. How many pounds of materials are you going to need the next month, which by the way is August? Right here. Right, this is where you use this information. Okay, so 113,000 times 15% equals 16,950. 16,950. Okay, and then let's add this up. Oops, we'll add this up, and then we'll figure out total raw materials needed. So if you add this together, you get 122,950. Right. Did you already have some raw materials at the beginning? If so, let's subtract that out. How much raw materials did you have at the beginning of July? I guess that's the same as how much you had at the end of June, right? How much do you want to have at the end of every month? 15% of the next month, right? So at the end of June, you want to have 15% of the materials you'll need in the following month. So how many pounds of materials did you need to have at the end of June? Well, it's 15% of July, which is 106,000. Okay, so 106,000. 106,000. Okay, so then we're going to add 15,900. Okay, and then we can figure out finally the units of materials to be purchased of raw materials. Okay, and that's going to be 122,950 minus 15 16,900. And that gives us 107,050. 107,050. Okay, this one I think is kind of confusing. So maybe I'll go over it one more time with everybody. Okay, so how many units of materials do you need to buy? It depends on how many units I expect to sell or how many units I expect to make. In July, I expect to make 26,500 units. Each unit needs 4 pounds of materials. So I need 106,000 pounds of material. Plus, I did want to have some extra just in case, right? So it says in the problem, how much extra do they want to have at the end of every month? Just take 15% of what they need next month. Well, that was easy because they tell us next month they need 113,000 pounds. So 15% of 113,000 is 16,950. So I'll add that in there. And as it turns out, I need to have 122,950 pounds of materials. Did you already have some materials from before? I think so, right? How much did you already have at the beginning? Well, it was the same as what you had at the end last time. It says in the problem, at the end, like in June, you want to have 15% of how much you're going to need in July, which is 106,000, because it says here, we need 106,000 in July. So here you get 15,900 and you'll subtract it. And then you realize that you need to have 107,050 pounds of materials. This is really just like number 4. I actually think number 4 is not too hard to understand. Number 5 is the same as number 4, except everything is in pounds, right? And that makes it a little bit confusing. And thank goodness all the lectures are recorded, right? So you can always rewatch the recording. Is that okay for everybody? Like for now, at least? Yeah, okay. Okay, I have a question. Okay, I'm always full of questions. What kind of budget is this? Operating or financial? This is about materials that you have to purchase. I think you need to purchase materials. Isn't that like an expense when you purchase materials? This one is a little bit tricky actually, because is it an operating budget or a financial budget? What do you think? Good, Madison. It's an operating budget because this is going to help you to determine your material cost. Okay, good. Okay, excellent. Any questions on this? How do you like this chapter? Not good, not so good? My favorite chapter so far was the one that we did with cost, volume, profit analysis. I like that chapter a lot, actually. But that's just me. Okay, let's take a look at this problem here. So number 6, it says in July, what are the total estimated cash disbursements? How much cash did you pay for raw materials? Assume that the cost of materials purchases in June is 149,340 and 113,000 pounds of materials are needed to meet production in August. All right. Well, let's see. When you purchase, right here, look at E. E says 40% of materials purchases are paid in the month of purchase and 60% in the following month, right? So 40%, 60%. Okay, so how much cash did you pay? Well, let's see. June, how much stuff did I buy in June? It says right here, 149,340. How much stuff did I buy in July? How much stuff did I buy in July? That one we have to figure out, right? So how much materials do I have to purchase in July? Look at number 5. 107,050 pounds, right? 107,050 pounds. So 107,050 times. How much does each pound of material cost? It says the raw materials cost is $2.40 per pound. $2.40. So in July, I have to purchase 107,050 pounds, and it costs $2.40 per pound, right? So how much stuff did I buy in July in dollars? That looks like it's $256,920. Okay, so this is how much stuff I purchased in June. This is how much stuff I purchased in July. Okay, so this is June's purchases. So how much did I pay in June? 40%, right? How much did I pay in July? 60%, right? 40% and 60% times 60%. Okay, so then how much did I pay? I paid $89,604. How much stuff did I buy in July? $256,920. How much did I pay in July? 40%, right? So this equals 102,768. I want to figure out how much money I paid in July, right? So in July, I paid this much money for like the June stuff, right? I bought stuff in June and I paid some of it off in July. How much stuff did I pay off in July? 89,604. And then in July, I purchased 256,920. I paid 40%. So how much cash did I pay in July? 102,768. So if I add them both up, I'm going to get the total amount of cash that I dispersed or paid for both months. Okay. And then that's going to give me 192,372. 192,372. Okay. And then I just took the amount of cash that I paid in July for the June purchases, and I take the amount of cash I paid in July for the July purchases, and then add them all up. I get 192,376. Okay, any questions on how I did that one? All right, let's do this one here. This is the last one. It says, if we assume that there is no fixed manufacturing overhead and variable manufacturing overhead is $8 per direct labor hour, what is the estimated unit product cost? Okay, so unit product cost. Every product has 3 ingredients: DM, DL, and MOH. All right, so let's see if we can figure out what these 3 things are. Okay, how much material does each unit need to have? I don't know. Let's see. How much material does each unit need to have? It says each unit of finished goods needs 4 pounds of materials. All right. And how much do the materials cost? $2.40. Okay, so one finished unit needs 4 pounds of stuff at $2.40 per pound. 4 times 2.4, right? 4 times 2.4. Okay, so 4 times 2.4. Okay, so that's good. How much labor does each unit need? Okay. So let's see, how much labor does each unit need? It says Right here, look at F, letter F. It says they pay $12 per hour and each finished unit needs 2 hours of labor. So every finished unit needs 2 hours of labor at $12 an hour. Okay. Is that a good salary, $12 an hour? I was a TA in graduate school. I got paid $10 an hour. I thought that was pretty good, but that was a long time ago. So 2 hours times 12. Okay, that's good. How about overhead? How much overhead does each finished unit need? Let's go back and see. See if you can find out how much overhead each unit needs. Okay. It says we have, doesn't say anything about overhead, I don't think. Okay. Let me just check, make sure I didn't miss anything anywhere else. Let's take a look at the problem here. Okay. They just give it to you. Okay, I was looking to see if we have to figure out the number, but when they just give you the answer, then it then actually it's kind of confusing because you think, oh, what do I have to do? You just have to use the number they give you. It says variable manufacturing overhead is $8. So just put 8. There isn't any fixed. Okay, so MOH is just $8. Okay, and then we'll add all these up. How much does it cost to make 1 unit? $49.50. $49.50. $49.50. Okay. You know that I have another question, and my question is this operating budget information or financial budget information? What do you think? This is how much the product costs to make. Okay, so this one is, you can make an argument for more than one, I think. Probably the financial budget needs unit cost because that's part of your inventory. Inventory is financial budget. Unit cost determines your cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold is on an income statement. That's operating. So this one, you can make an argument for operating or financial. Both of them would make sense. Definitely sales revenue budget, 100% operating budget. There's no controversy on that one, right? And then cash budget, 100% financial budget, right? This one could be one or the other. Okay, excellent. Any questions on how I did this problem? Yes, Madison, you have a question.
I was just doing the math and it didn't add up.
Oh, okay, maybe I did the math wrong. Okay. Let me see, one moment. 60, 49.60. Is that right?
I got 41.60.
2.4. Okay. Okay. Here it says for variable manufacturing overhead is $8 per direct labor hour. To make 1 unit, you need 2 direct labor hours. And then I think it's 49.60. Let me do that right now. Yeah, 49.60. Yep, that's the reason, because it says the MOH is $8 per direct labor hour. And then to make 1 unit, you need to have 2 direct labor hours. Great, thank you for pointing that out. Okay. Any other questions that you have? Okay, all right. If you don't have questions, then Let's summarize what we did with these problems. I think the ones that give people the most trouble would be number 4. Which ones should we maybe just summarize real quick, like how to do? Number 1, I think is not too bad, I hope, right? Number 4, what else? Okay, how about number 2 and 4? Okay, can somebody summarize in their own words how you would get number 2? Okay, the answer is here. But how would you do this when you do this on your homework? Does anybody want to try? How about Molly? Can you tell us?
Yes. So first, as we know, so based on the given, so we know what is the budget unit sales for June and July.
Mhm.
And then there, based on the second given, it said 40% of credit sale are collected in the months of the sale, and 60% in the following the months. So what we want to know is cash collections for the July. So that means that is first by you knowing the multiple by the unit cell and then times the 0.4. And then for the June you times 0.6. And then you add all together, it gives a number for the cash collections for the July.
Good, very good. How about number 4? How do you figure out how many units you have to produce? Can somebody summarize this in their own words? How you would do that? How about Frank? What do you think? Oh, Frank he doesn't have his microphone on. Okay. How about let's see, Madison, can you tell us if somebody asks you, how do you get this answer for number 4? What is all this stuff here?
So you're finding the unit sales in July 1st and then adding the desired end inventory, which is 25% of the 28,000 from isn't that like the next month, I think? And then you get the units required, and then you take that number and you subtract it from the beginning inventory, which is like the inventory in June, at the end of June, and then you subtract that to get the units that will be produced.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Okay, good. All right, anybody have any questions? Okay, I have one more question for you. So we have a little bit of time left. Okay. I have a multiple choice question. Let me just find it real quick. Okay. Okay, so I know you don't have this in front of you, but we'll just do it together. Okay, just give me one moment. I'm like always a perfectionist, so everything has to like look perfect. Otherwise, it bugs me. Okay, good. This is good. All right. Anybody want to volunteer to read number 1? Okay, nobody wants to volunteer. I will volunteer somebody. Like, how about Jasmine, number 1?
Okay, which one of the following is an operating budget? A, cash budget, B, sales budget, C, budgeted balance sheet, and D, capital expenditure budget.
Expenditure budget. Is it D? What do you think, Jasmine? Okay, I think her we lost her there. Anybody know what the answer is? Operating budget is. Don't make me cry, everybody. Oh my gosh. Operating budget is B, right? Okay, good. Thank you. Sales budget. Okay, I was like holding my breath there. Sales budget, because operating budget is anything on a income statement, sales budget. Thank you very much, Madison. Okay. All right. This one we have to do a little bit of math here. So we have Waco's widgets. They plan to sell 22,000 widgets during May, 19,000 in June, and 20,000 in July. Waco keeps 10% of next month's sales as ending inventory. How many units should Waco produce during June? Okay, so to figure out how much you have to produce, you take your unit sales, right, plus desired ending inventory, and then you subtract your beginning inventory, and then you can figure out units to be produced. Okay. This formula, by the way, is the same as this formula, right? Instead of writing it up and down, I just wrote it like as one line. Okay, so how many units do you expect to sell during June? They plan to sell 19,000 units in June. Okay, so 19,000, right? 19,000 plus, do they want to have some extra? Of course, they want to have 10% of next month. So how much do they want extra at the end of June? 10% of July, which by the way is 20,000, right? Times 20,000. Okay. How much did they have at the beginning? Well, I guess that was the same as like the ending in May, right? So at the end of May, that's the same as the beginning of June. At the end of May, they want to have 10% of next month, which is June, right? So 19,000. Okay, does this make sense where I got these numbers from, folks? So then how much do they want to have? What is the answer? Do you get 19,100? The answer is C. Okay. 19,100. Yeah. Okay. All right. What about number 3? This will be the last one we do. I hate these questions. Which one is incorrect? So which one is wrong? So how about A says all budgets include quantity and price? You think that's true? Let me think. What budgets do we know? Sales revenue budget, that has quantity and price. Materials budget, like how much materials you have to pay. Yeah, maybe. So maybe this sounds like it could be correct. Budgets are useful for both planning and control. That's definitely correct, right? We've been saying that the whole time. Research shows that dynamic and innovative firms use more budgeting than firms that are not dynamic and innovative. That's actually true. Budgets never have to be in financial or quantitative terms. That is so wrong, right? Budgets always have to be in financial terms, right? So which one is incorrect? It's letter D. 3 is D. Okay, excellent. What questions do you have for me from this chapter? Anybody have any questions? Okay, you have no questions. I have a question. So next week, you have off. So make sure that you do the homework that's going to be due on Sunday.